Oh my goodness. Good morning, everyone. I'm telling you, I'm having a little trouble getting these things to go live. Good morning, it's Leslie Flowers. I'm so happy to be here. Let's start off with letting you know that you can come on in. The comments are open, and this is Think and Grow Rich. And I'll welcome you with wherever you are in the world, pretend it's morning. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. And of course, we're in Mercury retrograde. So come on in. I want to make sure that we are going live. And let's just see here if I click to join, if it actually works. Certainly does. Okay. So, yes. Good morning, Elizabeth. Yes, we're a little bit of trouble. And this is a new service for me. So there's something that I've got to get squared away with them. Not a problem. Let me. Oh, goodness. Now it's not going to. Oh, it is going to let me share the screen. Okay. Perfect. 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 And here we go. And I don't like it that way. I think I like it this way better. Okay. So here we are. One foot in front of the other. Now, I have been doing these 12-week sessions teaching you the principles of success in Napoleon Hill's #2 classic of all times, Think and Grow Rich. There we go. So, what's the big deal about Think and Grow Rich? When I first discovered it in 2007, I didn't know what it was. I had no idea, never heard of the book. And yet, for the last 100 years, the great personal development greats who have made millions started with Think and Grow Rich. And not only personal development greats, because this book was written 100 years ago at the behest of Andrew Carnegie, tossed lightly to a 20-year-old cub reporter. And he was instructed to interview the most happy, healthy, and wealthy citizens in the United States to find out exactly what were they doing that everybody else missed. And that was the synthesis of 5,000 years of recorded history, which are the principles of success. You can find them everywhere. What is unique about this book, which I've studied for 16 years and have been teaching and writing about for 20,000 hours, is that it's all in one place, pretty much all in one place. So it was written 100 years ago. And then the person who taught me about it was Bob Proctor. He spent about 50 years on top of that in his life, known as the world's expert on this subject. And I actually became certified with him in 2008. And now, over the last 16 years, I have added 2. So this is really Think and Grow Rich on steroids. Okay, so this is really fun. Let's see who's here this morning. I'm excited that you're here. Oh, okay. Good morning, Aaron. So glad you're here this morning. So right now we have Elizabeth, and let me just tell you about my friend Elizabeth, who is a hypnotherapist, a nurse, and a multi-book author. Get to know her. She is absolutely wonderful. And many of you know Aaron Gibson, who's a visioneer and creates the most amazing video and music presentations tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, live on LinkedIn. The Soul Man is returning. All I can tell you about that is on LinkedIn, there is no other live show that encompasses so much of all of our senses, right? You kind of forget where you are. Very talented gentleman. So glad you're here. And let's, gosh, this is so weird. Let me fix this. Okay. Janelle is here, new friend, and Rebecca, my friend from 10 or 15 years. Thank you, Rebecca. So good to see you. She has a lot of talents, but one of them is jewelry. She makes beautiful stuff. And let me see. You're welcome. You're welcome. And look, our Lisa Fevick is here. Lisa is a registered dietitian focusing on eating properly for menopause. But I have to tell you, it's general good information. So it helps if you're in the throes of that cycle of life as a woman. But everything she shares works for those of us who not, or who are men, right? So she's really dedicated to our monitoring and reshaping our body based on eating good foods. Okay, let me see who else is here. Janelle is here. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me show you this first. So let's see how I do this. There we go. All right. So a little bit of background, because the thing about Think and Grow Rich is that it is a process. So anything that works really well, when you do due diligence and you hire someone or you engage with someone, you want them to already have a process that's proven. Anybody can say they can do this and they can do that, but it's up to us, because of the freedom to hang out a shingle at any time, day or night, other than medical, right? But in general, there's so much that you can do without a certification that it's really up to us, the consumer, to do the due diligence. So you may like the person and feel like your hearts are connected and the vibration is right and this is your person. But before you engage, I highly recommend that you look for palpable results, because let them set the process and then you invest in the process that works, rather than you being the person setting the process for them. And that's happened to me many times. Oh, there's beautiful Lisa. All right, let me just see here how okay, we can change it right here. Okay. Thank you. You're my favorite people, all of you. And Aaron, and Dr. Marcia. Hi, Dr. Marcia. How are you? Fabulous woman. She has an early morning Tuesday audio room. All right. So let's get into this, because this is a teaching lesson. And I've been doing this for a couple of years, where each week I will take you through this process, because repetition is the first law of learning. That's how our kids learned multiplication tables. That's how we learned it, through a process, a repetitive process that we now know without even thinking. Well, that's how you want this to be, because this is the roadmap to having everything you want. Now, I'm here to tell you that we're not robots. And so nobody does it perfectly. But I will tell you that after studying this and teaching this, anything I want to do, pretty much, as long as I don't violate the rights of others, I will do. Now, obviously, I'm not going to choose climbing Mount Everest. I could, because paraplegics have climbed, and I'm not a paraplegic, but I'm saying anything. What I couldn't do, perhaps, is be an umpire in professional baseball. But if I loved professional baseball, I could become the best reporter, right? I could be part of the financing. So no matter what it is that you want, the first thing that you have to have, and you see this as a roadmap, before you even pull out of the train station, which isn't even part of the 13 principles of success, you have to do one thing. If you're willing to do it and you're ready to do it and to surrender to this suggestion, which works thousands, tens of thousands of times, lots of results, in case you're a little skeptical, which is okay, because it's never actually perfect, but darn close. The first thing is that you have to have a definite purpose. It's in the introduction. What is it you want? Why do you want it? What difference is it going to make in the world? You have to be compelled. It has to be, you're almost obsessed. And it doesn't have to be, it can be positive or negative. So there are negative things that go on in the world that people are obsessed about, and they actually cause it to occur because of their obsession. Well, I like the other side of it. My obsession is about creating a world for you that you can escape to. and really use your conscious awareness to take you away like Calgon, right? And we can do this. And this is what I've been doing for years. So now at 125, you can see what it does for your youth. I'm just making sure that you're all awake here. Let me see. Oh, there's Bethan. Good morning, Bethan. So glad you're here. She's from the United Kingdom and a fabulous coach. Amy, let's see what Amy says. Purpose is still what I'm working on. Okay, great. So this is a definite purpose. Now, one thing I want to tell you about purpose, for a long time, I didn't know what it was. I pretended to be confused. I really was confused, but I think I didn't really want to look, or maybe I wasn't ready to look, right? What is my purpose? So I'll make it simple for you and how I've come to this very simple concept around purpose so that it's clear, because out of confusion comes order. Once you get this, Amy, and anybody who's in the same place where they just don't know what their purpose is, this should help alleviate any confusion you have. So we all have the same purpose. Consider to serve others. And throughout our lives, those purposes may change. In one decade, you may be going to school and serving in technology. Then the next decade, your purpose may be to marry and have a family and raise a family. And that takes a decade and a half, or maybe two, right? And then, so throughout your life, it's all based on service, a compelling desire to serve others, to make life better. It's what makes us happy, healthy, and wealthy. All of them. But of course, that sounds very easy. But we're more complex. And we're going to get into the mind today, because the universe, God gave us conscious awareness, the ability. Now, just think about this. The ability to visualize an idea and actually have it meet you on your doorstep. It's alchemy. And I try to explain this in a non-scary way. It is magic in a way. It's like Merlin. It's really learning how to use your conscious mind to stay focused and do certain things to bring this idea into fruition. So before you even pull out, have a definite purpose. It's specific. You're compelled. Think about, the Wright brothers. Think about computers. These people are obsessed. And I will tell you, I've been obsessed over the last 3 months. Now, it's a good obsession. It's required. It has nothing to do with money or fear. It has to do with spirit seeking to express itself through you into the world. You will know if you're the one. And if you're thinking for 1 minute that you're not smart enough or you're not expert enough, be clear. There's a whole lot of people who don't know what you know. And there are people who know more than you. So if you don't do this thing you're compelled to do, then those people who are being gravitating toward you because of what you're offering, and you're the only one, maybe you're the only voice they'll ever hear, and you don't do it, they may not grow, or certainly not as the way they could if you were involved. So the 9th grader sees the senior in high school as an expert, but the senior sees someone working on their master's as an expert. So it's all relative. And that's one of the laws of the universe, which I also teach. So let's see who else is here. Oh, Nick is here. So good to see you, Nick. Gosh, you must be on break. Tell your boss thank you. Nick works really hard in a full-time job, so I'm delighted you're here. Okay, so you've got your definite. We're going to 10:45. So this is 45 minutes. It's a lot to absorb. And if you've seen it before or heard it anywhere else before, good. If it resonates with you and you think, oh, I've heard that before, but I heard it a different way, or Maybe I didn't understand it, but I'm ready now. So you could have moments of clarity, and you can drop that in the comments, because this lives on my page, and repetition is the first law of learning. And so you can go back anytime and review all of these. So you're out of the train track, you're on the track. And the first principle is desire. It's the starting point of all achievement. It's built right on definite purpose. You fall in love with it. You're desperately in love with it, him, her, the thing, deeply in love. You're in love with love. This is also the highest cellular vibration. Love, generosity, kindness, sex. There's a lot of things that drive you into a higher vibration, which is very creative. That's how we were built. And mind is an activity. So when you're obsessed, like you might get goosebumps, and I had plenty of goosebumps bringing this 25-year-old dream of mine into fruition. Now you might ask, well, why did it take 25 years? Well, because when I created the outline, I was in a lot of hurt, and I had no idea the size of the concept. And our God in the universe wants us to succeed. I wasn't ready. Therefore, I didn't write the book for 22 years. I never even thought of it until 2 years ago. I reminded myself about the book. So if you cut off a big piece of something absolutely huge and you're not ready for it vibrationally, in other words, you can't do the thing and enjoy yourself too. There's too much anxiety and worry, and how is it going to happen? As long as I waited to do this, I was able to enjoy every single minute of it. So I got to live in obsession land, right? Let me put this on mute for just a second. I got to be obsessed for 3 months. Oh, it was absolutely heaven. All right. Thank you, Nick. I know you're still in Canada and I can't stop coughing. So just. Okay. Thank you. Hey, Gary Rand. So good to see you here. So listen, set an intention. Take a couple of notes. What I'd love for you to do is comment on one thing that you got that kind of made sense to you, or you may have read it somewhere else. So desire is the starting point of all achievement. Then we move into faith. We have perfect faith in God. Most of us do. Because through number 3, autosuggestion, self-suggestion in spaced repetitive intervals over time, that's how we learned our multiplication tables. So if I asked you right now what 4 times 5 is, you would say 20 automatically. You didn't have to think about it, because it's instilled as a belief or perfect faith in your subconscious mind. So our faith in God probably developed, and likely developed, through going to church, reading scripture, following community patterns, year after year after year. Now you believe it. A man can tell himself something repeatedly, and whether it's true or not, we'll believe it. And once you believe it, it is the truth for you. It's just how it is. And it runs the show. Let me see what Nikki says here. Desire, passion, action equals results. Yeah, and actually you can jump this around a little bit and say purpose, which is the foundation, that definite purpose. And by the way, to me, I look at goals, purpose, tasks, all the same way. Stuff that I'm going to do to get me to my goal, right? The steps that I'm going to take. So yes, it could be desire, passion plus action. I have to have action. Absolutely. Nothing happens if you don't have action. So then we develop faith in our ability and our deservability. And that's what this is all about, because we're going to talk about fears today. And that's all about your non-deservability, your lack of faith in your ability based on your repetitive experience of failure. All of us have had this. They don't have to be big, But if they're repetitive, you get a C plus on your report card every quarter or every semester. You believe you are a C plus student, and the idea of going to medical school goes out the window. You would have to be compelled, and it had to outweigh that fear of failure, right? Or fear of criticism or fear of judgment. So that's why being compelled and deeply in love with this thing you're doing is a requirement. And that's why only 1 or 2 people out of 100 ever even enjoy this. You've probably done it and didn't realize it. So now it's important to take a look back and look at yourself when you have done this, when it didn't matter about the money or it didn't matter about what other people thought. You were going to university. You didn't care. Didn't matter what anybody said. You had perfect faith in it. Okay, so now we get into imagination, which is the workshop of the mind. And this is where you create the physical equivalent to the idea in your conscious mind. You may not understand it all right now. Consider this. Try it on. Look for things that you've heard before like this. This is a little deeper, but I think you're ready for it if you're here. Okay. Imagination, you get your creative imagination, the idea out of the blue, right? And then you have synthetic. So once you decide you're going to do that thing, which is a wild idea, but gosh, there's just something about it. You're going to spend some time with it. You think this is it for right now, for this time in your life. Then your synthetic imagination, which is a compilation of all your experiences, goes to work, trying to fill in the puzzle. Well, I could do this, and I could do this, and I could do this. So that's the distinction on imagination. There's 2 kinds. Then decision becomes easy. It's the opposite of procrastination, the biggest habit we all have. Let me just put it off, right? I don't wanna, right? So you have to want to. But decision is the opposite of procrastination. And with a definite purpose, decisions are easy. You simply ask yourself the question, my friends. If something comes up, if I do this, will it take me directly toward my purpose or my goal? If it will, you do it. If it won't, you put it off. Doesn't mean you never do it, but those are the squirrels or the bright, shiny object syndrome. Because we live in a world just filled with opportunities. It's so exciting, but it destroys our focus. And so we are easily distracted. So this process really helped me get very focused and rebuild my own concentration. And then out of this comes persistence or discipline. So you're so in love with it, you're motivated. The whole idea is that you've got to stay motivated until you achieve the thing. And then today we're going to talk about the 6 fears. There are other chapters. This is the epilogue. I just love this subject so much because people throw the word fear around, and I just want you to see clearly through my teachings, the things I've learned and my creative imagination, a way it can work, a way you can better understand what's actually going on and look with clarity. When I'm confused, I don't take any action, but make it clear for me and I'm out the door. So that's what I want to do, is make it clear for you so that you can begin to build faith for the things that you have fears. And I'll show you here in a second. All right, so then we'll go on and we'll do a couple of other things there. All right, let's see if anybody has any questions. Janelle, a little back and forth. You will know when the time is right. Yeah. Sometimes things don't work out because you've bitten off something big and the universe is saying, well, wait a minute, Leslie, this is a huge idea. You have a lot of healing to do. So a lot of times, our lowest moments in our lives become the things we want to teach. And that's where writing books come in. And speaking of books, let me just say, Nick has bitten off a big one. she is going to publish 3 books at the same time. And it's called A LinkedIn Love Affair. And each book has 12 authors, and each book looks at how we came into LinkedIn and what our intention and our purpose was. So there's like 36 authors, 3 books, and it's just a whole lot of, it's a big mastermind. And it's so much fun. And it's a great way to become a bestseller by writing a chapter. You've done that before. It's different than writing your own book, but it's a great way to start and to get yourself that status, because people usually don't make much money off of self-publishing, but it's the best $5 business card, your book, because you can sell it when you go to speak. So the marketing side of anthologies works really well for people to grow their business. Okay, let's go on here. 10:30, we got 15 minutes. Let me see if there's anybody else. Everybody good? Any questions? Okay, now we're getting into the, let me see, Bethan. I just want to make sure. Hey, Lisa. All right. Okay. Wow, Nick. Okay, so we've got a LinkedIn user. I'm not sure. Maybe that's Janelle, who that is. Okay, so I put this particular graphic only because I just loved making it so much. But if you look at it this way, whatever you have, your house, your lifestyle, your income, the car you drive, your relationships, your religion, all of that is a direct match to what you believe you can do and that you're deserving of. So if you're looking around and thinking, well, you know what? There's got to be a better way. The answer is in the roots of your mind. And it pollutes and diminishes. There are 6 of these fears. And they diminish your dreams. They just make you play small. So usually you don't play. They're all subconscious. This is kind of a different way of looking at it. If the roots are poisoned, you look at the leaves, right? So your idea, your dream starts to fade and you give up. Now, the top 2 here are poverty and criticism, but the loss of a love, illness is the 3rd one. Then loss of love, old age, and death. We have them all. So a lot of times people will say, well, I was afraid of this. Do you know which fear it was? Because they show up at different times for different reasons. Fear of criticism isn't going to come up when you don't have enough money. That's fear of poverty. So there's a distinction. It's kind of neat to know what they are. Excuse me. All right, let me get this back over here. All right. No, I liked it better this way. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the next one. This is the important one here for you to get. And you've seen this similarly, but allow me to walk you through this pretty simple explanation of what is happening in our mind. Now, remember that mind is a cellular activity. It's not the brain. It's not an organ. Okay, just give me 1 second again. I got to do this one. Okay. So our information comes into our conscious mind through our 5 senses. There's the antenna. See, hear, smell, taste, and touch. We get an idea. We're driving along. We can accept it or we can let it go. If it doesn't interest us, we just start thinking about something else. The thing is, we only think one conscious thought at a time. Only one. You don't have 2 thoughts simultaneously. Not conscious. Now, you can have subconscious, which is reactive and automatic. And a perfect example is you're doing a drive from point A to point B that you've done 100 times, and you're talking on the phone. So the subconscious mind, your automatic autopilot, is getting you to the place, right? While your conscious mind is engaged in the conversation. Very different. Subconscious only accepts what slips through your conscious mind repeatedly. This means you can do it purposely and remind yourself every day in spaced repetitive intervals about why you want this thing and how much you love it. that will raise your cellular vibration, put goosebumps on your arms. That's where you want to be. Because your results will match how you're feeling. All that we can control as humans is what we think, how frequently we think it, and the way it makes us feel when we think it. And we want it to be good because it works on purpose or by default. So if you're listening to people arguing day in and day out, that is a very low vibration. It is penetrating into your conscious mind. You may not even realize it. But if it's enough, it will move into the subconscious. Now, the subconscious lives like the truth for you. And so we can look there first as we to the right here. One is faith, your higher side, which is your conscious side. And one is fear, the subconscious. Which one do you think is stronger? Based on results of people living out their dreams, it is very clear that fear is stronger. And and here you can add faith in our Creator. That's the only good thing there. So when you get an idea, before any of these conscious muscles, which I'll tell you about in a minute, even can say, oh, the well-practiced fears, which have been reminding you all your life where you failed. Don't do that, Leslie. You were embarrassed and humiliated. Play small, right? Or you want to do something that you want very much. Well, you can't afford it, and you let it go. You believe these things through proof of faith. You have faith in them. Now, most of them started when you were a kid. And they really were true then. Now, today, they don't need to be. We don't need to operate with a 7-year-old's mindset about fear. We can learn and we can grow up and we can use our conscious awareness to build more faith to go in the subconscious, to disprove those fears by doing that exact thing and doing it in flying colors. So on the conscious side, you have these 6 mental muscles. That is the work that I do, that you are doing. As you listen to this and as you practice and think about these things, each one of these mental muscles are growing in direct proportion to their use. That's how the fears grew. Well, I can't do that because I failed at that. Oh, I can't be a public speaker. That's fear of criticism or judgment because I was humiliated in middle school and I promised myself I would never do that again. So we already believe we can't through actual reality. It's just that we're the only living beings that have conscious awareness. And with that conscious awareness is the key through imagination and intuition to bring any dream you want to fruition. But you gotta want it a lot. Okay, so you've got those 6, and they are what I call spiritual warriors. The more good you get at this, like disallowing yourself in negative environments. When you can, switching off the TV, or if you're a news junkie, flip it around to other stations. Don't just listen to MSNBC. I'm guilty. Or Fox News. The more focused you stay, whether it's on purpose or not, if you're washing dishes, cooking dinner, and you're hearing this stuff in the background, it's penetrating right into your conscious mind, and through repetition, it seeps into the subconscious. It impresses. Now, the difference in these two is that the subconscious, the fears are faster and louder. They're more well practiced. Those muscles are strong. They've been telling you for decades that you're not good enough. And at one time, you really believe that. However, the process that gave you the fears is the exact process to create faith in your ability and your deservability, because you do deserve it. It's your missing information And you may be unaware. Most people know about the five senses, but they don't know about these other mental muscles. Once you get a hold of these, you get very good at outweighing the fears. But for most of us, when we get an idea that we failed at or we had never done before, we ask how. Well, we don't know how. Therefore, we'll be fearful. I can't do it if I don't know how. So this is the kind of thinking or non-thinking, if you will, that most people have. But those who get curious, which is part of imagination, about the stuff they haven't learned yet, because there's so much more, so much more. Do it in increments. Practice it. Pick one thing that you want to do, not 21 things, because you'll end up doing nothing. And if you pick one goal or one thing that you're working on, you can watch the process. And when it works, you can replicate it. But if you have a lot of different goals, then there is no process. It's haphazard or sporadic. And that is not wealth, health, and happiness. That's like this. Some days I feel great, some days I don't. It doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. So let me just tell you a little bit about these ghosts of fear. And I don't know why he calls them ghosts. Oops, how do I get bigger? Oh, I don't want to be that big. Can I be that big? Or this big? What the heck happened here? This is the one I wanted. Okay. So you can see me. Anyway, so there are 6 of them. They say that the top 2 are poverty and criticism. And what they sound like is, I can't afford it. It's impossible. Quick story, 2007. Long story short, I landed on Bob Proctor's site. The Secret had just come out, I think in 2006. I had been teaching all of this, working full time in a meetup group and just loving it all. Ended up on Proctor's site and fell in love with being certified in 2008. Oh, I would go to West Palm Beach and I would be with people from all over the world. I would have an LSC. I would be a business consultant. I mean, I would be learning from the best. As Proctor was, and in my view still is, the premier teacher of Think and Grow Rich. And that's where I learned and never stopped learning and teaching. So getting back to that, I knew I loved it. I fell in love with what they said, you're going to do a mastermind. We'll send you the outline on Think and Grow Rich. And I said, what's a mastermind? What the hell is Think and Grow Rich? I didn't know what those things were, but I knew. I became compelled and obsessed. I knew. I had perfect faith. This was the step for me. And of course, it turned out to be true, but I knew it. Now, when I asked her, and this is really important for you to get, it took me a long time to get it. When I asked her how much, right, what's it going to cost? She said $16,000. This was in 2007, and I'm a secretary making $2,500 a week. So I wanted it. I was going to do it, but I totally let go of the money. Because it was impossible. I had no access to $16,000. Not that I was aware of. No access at all. A lot of times we worry and we do save. But in this instance, it was such a wild dream to go and do this thing, the way it was described, the way I visualized myself. But I gave no credence to the money because I knew I couldn't. But I didn't care. Kind of like a stubborn child. And focused on it. And 4 months later, here came the outline. I didn't have the money. Here comes the outline. They've told me to find 8 people, teach them Think and Grow Rich, which I did. I did everything they said. And right around that time, I got a phone call from my ex. And he said, Leslie, we're selling some stock in the company and part of it is yours. So I'm sending you a check for $20,000. We are cause in the matter of our lives. It was completely shifting any energy or thoughts from that ridiculous amount of money based on what I knew, and dumped it in with a deep obsession, visualizing the DNA of manifestation, by the way, over and over and over again, driving up my cellular vibration. Now, there's more to the story in terms of how this actually works. But what I want you to know, I didn't have the money and no clue. But my definite purpose and my obsession to do this thing, my knowing that right now this was the right thing, was cause in the matter of that money coming. And that's not the only time this has happened for me. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Harvey is in the UK, and he's been following this for a long time. And he's told some really fabulous stories of this kind of a thing, where he had made his mind up to do something. And if he had quit, he never would have met his beautiful wife. Human mind has believed in too much fear. It's time to practice. Yeah, 100%. I agree. Absolutely agree. So the other ones, just briefly, because we're at 10:45 and I don't want to go more than 5 minutes. Hey, are you having a good time, everybody? Is everybody having Omar. Hi, Omar. So glad you're here. I hope you're enjoying this. So poverty is, there isn't enough money, and it will go to work. All these fears will start to blast at your intuition. Intuition doesn't work when you're afraid, because it's faith versus fear. What thought is dominating? And so effectively what happens here, there we go. So what happens is these fears bombard these and disable them. So because they're first out, as soon as you get an idea, one of these is going to pop up. You can't afford it. Well, you've done it before and you were embarrassed. Let someone else stick their neck out. Well, you've had COVID, so maybe you don't want to take that trip. Oh, but what if somebody dies, or my boyfriend breaks up with me, or there's a divorce? All these are excuses. Oh, I'm too old. You've heard that one, right? I'm not too old. I got news for you. I'm not too old. And then death. By the time you get to my place, I'm not even worried about it anymore. I'm having such a phenomenal time that I know I will just go when it's time to go. That's what I know for sure. So the work I do, and you're coming here every week, reviewing these videos, coming to Paulette's and my Mind Over Matter, where we talk about this a lot. It is the distinction, and the only place you have any control is in the conscious mind. But everything is running automatically, like autopilot, in your subconscious, and it's first to the plate because it's had a lot of practice. They're really enemies. But you got to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. The more you understand them, the better you will do. And then old age, death, you got it. So another time I'll tell you about the mental muscles, but they are the work that we're all doing together. Okay, a few things just so you know what's going on here. Every Monday, 10 a.m., Mind Over Matter Mondays. It's an audio room with my co-pilot, Paulette Hallam. Every Friday, you can come here and have a live stream about Think and Grow Rich. October 4th and 5th, I'll be presenting with 26 other presenters at the Work-Life Balance Telesummit. And just go to creativelivingideas.com and you'll be able to see that. That is a paid, that's an investment to attend for 2 days. And then, as I mentioned before, the trilogy is coming out, I think, in November, if I'm correct. So watch for this. This has never been done before that I could find anywhere. Imagine publishing 3 books at once. I've published 17 for myself and other people. I couldn't imagine doing more than one at a time. Okay, let's see. That, I believe, is the end of the story today. Yeah, it is. All right, so let me stop that sharing. I'm telling you what, I got to figure this out this week. And last week I had a really hard time. This is so interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's just my cursor. I don't know. Okay, better. Last week I couldn't end the stream without trying very hard. So let me just say one last thing to you, and we are over. Thank you for being here. My intention was really that it landed for you as clear and kind of fun. And, the law of polarity says for every up, there's a down. Well, stop looking down. Because when you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. Because at the end of the storm, there's always a golden sky and the sweet, simple song of the lark. Okay, everybody, thank you. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you Monday and next Friday, and I'll see you all over LinkedIn. I'm going to take myself off stage and see if I can end the stream. You guys just go and have a fabulous time, and it'll either end now or in a few minutes. Come back and listen anytime. Thank you.